Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Arrow. The first thing I want to talk about is how messed up Wild Dog got in this episode. Holy crap. Like, you knew Church was going to put a beating on him, but it's like, you didn't really know just how much. I mean, he just, even throughout the rest of the episode, he got messed up bad, dude. That was crazy. I mean, and at the same time, I don't blame him about kind of breaking about the whole, like, Oliver being Green Arrow thing. Like, I mean, he says, like, oh, I can take a punch and everything. It's like, oh, yeah, you can take a punch. But taking a punch is a lot differently than, being tortured and beaten repeatedly, It's like, because with the situation like that, Tobias was going all out with him, brass knuckles, just like beating the crap out of him, just everything else too. Because it was with torture, it's no longer, it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing too. Which, granted, we didn't really get to see the mental side of that. He did say he's like, oh, I'm gonna kind of break you, through fear. Not just break your body, but break your mind, essentially. We can kind of get that aspect of it, but wherever it was, I guess it was, psychologically, he kind of broke him a little bit with that story. And maybe it's just kind of like his need to be a tough guy, and maybe it's just like he was delirious from the beatings and stuff like that. Because he's like, I don't even remember what I told him. So, but like I said, he's not well trained for that. If it was a situation like that with Oliver, nah, Oliver wouldn't have broken. I mean, that's because Oliver's been in that situation before. He's been on both sides of it. He knows how to handle being tortured, and he knows what it's like to torture, how to torture someone. So it's like he has a better chance of surviving a torture like that. So it's kind of, especially someone like, yeah, he can, like I said, can take a punch and everything, but that doesn't make you ready for something like that. I mean, that's hard for any normal person to handle it, so that's why I kind of felt bad about it. The fact is, he was kind of beating himself up. And what I like the fact is that Diggle was there for him, kind of using his own experience, with Andy and everything. And it's like, wow, you were tortured by your own brother? He was like, yep. And he was working with Damien Dark the entire time. Because you kind of also got to find out a little bit more about Wild Dog in this episode, why he ended up getting dishonorably discharged. So basically what kind of happened to him is what he did. Like, basically, his unit was carrying a subject who had some valuable information. They couldn't really get the information out of him. So Wild Dog, trying to be, a good soldier, decided to kind of take matters in his own hand and basically beat the dude up. And that's just how everything fell out. I don't know whether it's going to be something where you get to learn more about that, or where it's just kind of like, yeah, the situation is what it is. You learn what it is, but you won't ever get to learn the details. Because I guess at the end of the day, I mean, maybe you never know. Maybe those details will come back up. But for now, it seems like those details were just kind of like to explain why Wild Dog's the way he is, and just kind of like, because, even in this episode, it was just kind of like, it's like Oliver told you to kind of stand, like he's like, oh, telling you to stand down and recuperate. And Wild Dog was like, yeah, I will, because he ordered me to. And it's like, that's him because in all honesty, he doesn't want to mess up. I mean, it's going to be, everything kind of worked out in the end, but it's going to be very interesting to see where Renee goes from here, because it's like, after everything that's gone down, he blames himself in this episode for, Oliver being found out as a Green Arrow and stuff like that. So it makes you wonder, it seems like he's going to be a lot more, open-minded and willing to follow Oliver's orders without question now. I mean, it kind of got to that point a little bit, but now it's just kind of like, it was already like that, but now even more so now, just because it's like, because I even love that moment where Felicity had tracked, it's like, oh, I tracked him down. It's like, okay, and Rory and Artemis were basically saying okay, where is he? And it's like, Oliver told me not to tell. The only person I should tell is him. And then Rory Ragman was like, okay, I kind of understand why. It's like, after what happened with Renee, he didn't want that to happen to anybody else, so he wasn't letting anyone else go off on their own. I mean, this episode, we're getting right into it. Fact is, Diggle being back, not only just to help Renee, but also back in the field as Spartan kicking ass. Side note, the helmet's a little different. Did that change at the end of last season? I don't remember that, because I remember people talking about the helmet was going to change, but I can't remember if that was a season 5 thing, or did that change at the end of the last season. Maybe it looks like, I think it was a season 5 thing. I mean, mainly it's kind of like there's a glass part protecting it. Originally it was kind of more open, like Magneto's helmet. It's kind of the comparison people made, but now it's kind of got a glass shielding like around like the top half of his face, and I'm trying to remember if that popped up last season or not, or was that just kind of something like new and modified. It might have popped up last season, I'm just not remembering. But seeing him jumping in the field kicking ass, you even saw Ragman and Artemis holding their own against that dude, don't know who he is, the dude that Church hired, the one who ended up shooting at Oliver, which I'll get to that in a second and everything. But I mean, granted, they held their own pretty well, but I really appreciate the fact is that Wild Dog held his own against Church. He kind of got his second chance at fighting him, which I was kind of hoping he would be the one to take Church down, but he didn't. Sadly, responsibility came down to Oliver, which I really liked that fight because at one point Oliver shoots the arrow into him, and you see Church kind of on the kneeling on the ground with the arrow in him, and then Oliver's like, get up, and it's like, ooh, he's like, oh, should I call you Oliver Queen? And he's like, I don't know, you shouldn't. And it's just it just kicked his ass, dude. I was just like, yeah, because that ass whooping wasn't just because he's a bad guy that needed to be taken down. It's also because like, yo, you hurt one of my team, I gotta put the hurting on you, like, is what it comes down to. So Oliver didn't outright say it, but you kind of it's there. That's all I gotta say is it's there. Kind of going back a little bit about the whole him getting shot thing. Like the moment that was playing, I was like, that's rigged, isn't it? It's like, you totally faked this, didn't you? Because you already knew he was coming after you anyway, and it's like you prepared ahead of time. And it's like, could you tell because the guys that what I was legitimately thinking was like the guy that was working with Church. I thought that was the guy Diggle brought in. I was like, oh, he's actually there. And that's how, he got in contact with Church, and Church doesn't realize he's got an inside man. But then to find out, it's like, oh, the guy that's working with Church isn't actually the guy. The guy that's working with Diggle ends up being a guy known as the Human Target. Which I was like, wait, what? I was like, two Olivers. I was like, wait, is this a metahuman thing? It's like, no, this dude is like the master of disguise. Literally takes off a face mask looking like Oliver and throws it at Felicity. It's just kind of like, ew, that's weird. Just don't do that so suddenly. And it's like, holy crap. Diggle knows some very interesting people. That was incredible, dude. I was like, dude. And like the way he explained it too, he was like, yo, I disguise myself as different people. And when I disguise them, I don't just... I learned everything there is to know about them. I act like they would. I mean, apparently he'd been disguised as Oliver for quite a bit of time. There's that whole situation with him talking to that guy, basically about doing the renovations and basically making low-income, affordable homes for people, building that renovations of such like that. And basically when Oliver kind of blackmailed that dude, was like, because he brought up the Queen's past, basically like, oh yeah, you want to help out and do this and stuff like that, you want my kind of my vote to be like, oh yeah, let's go through it. If I can't, because it's like in the past there's a similar situation where the Queens basically, instead of building homes, kind of built skyscrapers. And especially, they moved out those people who couldn't, kind of moved out the poor and built, gigantic buildings. One said building being the actual Queen Consolidation building. So it's kind of like that. He was kind of being like, I can't work with you. I'm sorry, I won't change my vote. Then you end up finding out, oh, that was total bull crap, because he's actually essentially he wanted to do things his own way. He wanted to kind of make his own buildings and stuff like that. So he was just lying. And then, basically Oliver kind of blackmailed him. I mean, it turned out not to be Oliver. It was just the Human Target. I didn't catch his real name, so I'm just going to refer to him as that. Which it kind of shows you, like, I feel like that's something maybe Oliver would have done, but it seemed like he was a little more bloodthirsty about it. And even the whole situation with talking to Susan, kind of getting her to be like, okay, you know what we're going to do is you give me a month trial period. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. Once that's done, if you really think I'm terrible and I haven't really done a good part of my job, you can tear me apart and whatnot, in the news. But till then, just kind of stop throwing like these cannonballs my way of just kind of like bad press about me and stuff like that. And I'll try and show you that you're wrong about me. She even gives him his phone number and everything. Like I said, this is all the Human Target, which makes it so interesting because he says, like, I know I get to learn my target and I behave that way. So it's like, would Oliver really handle the situation that way? I'm like, I guess so. Part of me thinks maybe not, I don't know, because he really is basing that off of what he's gathered about who Oliver is. So that's why he was able to do it, because he's like, it wasn't just me. I was being you at that time. I wasn't being me. So it means like you technically did all that because I did what I know you would do. So That was kind of interesting. Side note, that reporter Susan, which obviously, Thea had her run in with her, obviously, and doesn't really like her and doesn't trust her. And she's like, "Oh, are you sure this is a good idea?" He's kind of going for it. But I'm very curious if she's kind of being set up as kind of like his Vicky Vale, Oliver's Vicky Vale or not. Just because it's like a reporter connected to a superhero to a certain extent, it's like how she's like, I don't know, it just kind of, I guess because of the whole Gotham situation, it's kind of got that, in my head and whatnot. So I'm kind of like, maybe, she's supposed to be kind of like his Vicky Vale. And so I was like, that's going to be interesting seeing that going forward. Plus the whole phone numbers, like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? Oh, you know what to do. It's like, oh, is there something there? And then at the end of the episode, you had the whole, like, her finding it's like, oh, yeah, they basically figured out, it's like, oh, Oliver faked his death and everything. It's like, oh, the person that took his place is the guy known as a human target. And it's like, oh, him and Oliver have actually crossed paths in the past before. Apparently, like, one of his assignments was by Atoli and it was to protect Oliver from Victor, which I'll get to that later. But basically, it was a picture of she ended up getting a picture of Oliver from 5 years ago when he was with the Bratva. So, and she had a smile on her face. So, like I said, it's already an interesting, because it seemed like there might be a thing there, possibly might be where the direction that's going. But also the fact is that, like, good and a bad thing. I mean, mainly bad because it's like she's going to be digging into Oliver's past specifically, and that's never a good thing. Like, Oliver's crossed paths with a lot of dangerous people, some still around and everything, especially some groups. So it's kind of like, it's like with the certain things he's come across in the past, it's kind of like not wise to go digging up the past, because I'm sure that's going, like, she's going to go digging up stuff about Oliver in the past and ends up coming back to essentially bite him in the ass, if it hasn't already, which the past tends to always kind of come back to bite Oliver in the ass, or it's going to come back to bite her in the ass because she's going to be diving into his past, especially the Bratva stuff, which we don't really know 100% where he stands with the Bratva. The last time we really saw that ever brought up was back in season 1, because he used his connections with Anatoly, like, is like, being part of the Bratva. He used that to kind of, I don't remember the context of it, but it was like he talked to somebody because of his experience with Bratva and Anatoly. So he kind of basically, I think, used Anatoly's name, I think. But nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to see what it goes from here. Is she going to, like, pretend like she doesn't know that, and she tries to play nice with Oliver and is secretly trying to, like, dig up all this dirt about him? Like I said, at the end of the day, no matter which way, it's going to end badly. Like, yes, it's most likely going to end badly for Oliver, but like I said, the past rears its ugly head all the time. But I feel like it might definitely end bad for her, because she's going to end up sticking her being a journalist, reporter, whatever you want to call her, like, being what she is, like, she's going to stick her nose in something she shouldn't. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if she decides to kind of throw it at Oliver all at once next episode, or is it going to be something where it's kind of like I said, she's kind of pretending to get close to him and everything just to kind of get the find out, snoop around finding extra stuff. The whole situation with the human target dude, now that, I kind of left off with that. It's like, I hope we get to see him more in the future. I don't know. I just want to see him pop up more. It's like, dude, you're so interesting. You could literally be anyone. Like, he disguised himself as one of those thug dudes working for church. And that guy was fighting Artemis and Mr. Terrific. Did I say Ragman earlier when I was saying that earlier? I don't remember. I think I did. I think I was saying Ragman earlier, but nevertheless, Mr. Terrific is what I meant to say. I'm totally correcting myself. I'm like way bad now. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I actually said Ragman, didn't I? I was such an idiot. Nevertheless, it was kind of interesting to see, like, the fact is, he showed up and knocked the guy out with, like, it's combination work between him and Diggs to take that guy down, and then he just rips the mask off, and it's like him. It's like, dude, how do you do that? How do you just slip into someone's skin? I mean, obviously not literally, but, like, figuratively, just slip into someone's skin and just assume their identity like that, just in a moment's notice. Because it was like, hey, you were just pretending to be Oliver, now you just happen to pretend to be some thug part of church's group. That's very interesting. I am a little sad that, with the current situation you had, Tobias Church dying, because it's like, I would have liked to see him in the future. I was like, the moment he got arrested, I was like, because I was happy. I was like, okay, he's not dead, so that means we will see him in the future. And then he's looking, while he's being escorted away, he's looking, it's like, oh, you guys should have took him on a plane. I was like, oh, right. Prometheus was like, yo, you mess with Green Arrow again, he will come for you. It was like the last warning and everything, right? It's like, you're scared. And he had right to be, because Prometheus showed up, all the cops there defending everything, and he killed every last one of them. I was like, oh, crap, dude, Prometheus is a badass. Even told that cop, he's like, yo, don't go out there. Oh, it's like, because this guy's trying to help you. He's like, no, I'm trying to make sure you don't die. He opens it, gets killed immediately. And Tobias is like, hey, okay, I'm sorry, I hope you captured Green Arrow. I'll tell you his real identity. It's Oliver Queen. And it's like, so we cool? And he's like, yeah, we cool. And he kills Tobias. I was like, oh God, I'm so curious to find out who you are and why you have such a problem with the Green Arrow. I mean, half of me was kind of expecting him to be like, already know his true identity and then kill Tobias. But to me, Tobias was stupid. It's like, why give away the one bit of leverage you've got? It's like the moment you tell him that, you know he's going to kill you because you have no worth anymore, because it's like he gave you plenty of warnings, you didn't listen. Two, it's like you have information he wants. Keep that information and he'll keep you alive. I mean, granted, who's to say he doesn't end up torturing Tobias just to get the information? But I was literally halfway expecting him to be like, I already know that, and then kill him. But I mean, either way, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that information. Will he act upon it? Will he come after him as Oliver Queen, or does he not care? Does he only want to come after him as the Green Arrow? I mean, is this like a personal thing, or is it kind of a situation where it's like, I want to get rid of the Green Arrow because the Green Arrow is hope? It's like, I want to dash Star City's hope, which I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't think so. Like, it does seem like this is personal, because it's like, I don't want anyone else but me killing the Green Arrow. If it was the sake of like killing Star City's hope, he would have been fine with Tobias doing it too. Like, as long as the Green Arrow is dead, who cares by whose hand? But in fact is that he wants to do it himself means it is personal. So once again, the past coming, it does make you wonder, is it maybe connected to Victor? Because Victor's like, yo, I don't accept you as part of the Bratva, because, Oliver kind of got fully accepted this episode, but then it's like, I don't accept you as one of our brothers. Try to have him killed. That's when the human target showed up and protected him. And Anatoly's like, yo, we can't kill Victor because Victor's connected. We got to find some other way of dealing with this. So I'm because, he thinks like, Oliver doesn't know what the struggle is to kind of like, that Oliver's saying everything that he's supposed to say. It's like, Oliver has his reasons, like he's keeping a promise from last season, that he would take care of this guy. And because even Anatoly doesn't know the full story. He's like, oh, you're doing this for a girl. I should have known. But it seemed like, I don't know, because in Victor's mind, he's like, you don't know what we do. We do things because we act as a system for justice. It's like Oliver's trying to get justice too, because the person he made a promise to is like, this guy ended up doing a lot of bad things, and it's like killing him is a means of doing it. It does make you wonder, does Victor even know why Oliver's doing this? The only person that seems to really know Oliver's real motives behind joining the Bratva and everything is, Anatoly's. And I doubt Anatoly's going off spouting Oliver's business. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see where this whole Bratva situation, the storyline goes, and like obviously how it affects present day too. So is it all connected to Prometheus? Maybe, maybe not. And also in this episode, we had multiple things. One, Billy, Felicity's Billy, is actually working as part of the ACU now. That's a little awkward. It's like, yeah, it's going to be weird. Your ex-fiance is going to be my boss. It's like, he knows about us, right? She's like, yeah, what? Yeah, it's Felicity. Yeah, most definitely. But Oliver ended up finding, like, I brought it up before. I was like, Oliver doesn't know? I was like, unless Oliver does know and he didn't say anything. But you find out this episode, he had no idea, because the human target was like, oh yeah, Billy came up to me because, I looked like you and everything. He was like, yeah, you're, it is like, yeah, me, like I was supposed to know the fact him and Felicity were together. And Oliver brings up the question to her. It's like, okay, so why didn't you tell me? And she's like, he's like, were you hoping for there's something being between us, leaving it a little open for both of us? And she's like, no, it's not like that. She's like, I was just waiting to see if what was happening between her and Billy was real. And there's that part of me that's always like, I want Felicity and Oliver together, but it shouldn't be a forced situation. It should be a situation where they naturally, if it's meant to be, they'll come back together. That's all I gotta say. I don't know how most fans feel about, I know fans have a problem with Felicity. I don't get why. I don't get it. But like, apparently fans of the show have a problem with Felicity, so I'm sure they probably have a problem with them as a couple, which I never did. But it's going to be interesting to see where that all ends up going. Because it started popping up in my eyes, like, could Billy actually be Prometheus? Could that be what they're setting that up for? Just to kind of see, like, Felicity have to deal with that betrayal of the fact is, it's like, oh, this man she's getting close to and in love with. And, especially now that Prometheus knows that Oliver is the Green Arrow, that might start bringing up, that might create an interesting dynamic between him and Felicity, because it's like, oh, he has to struggle with the fact that he's in love with Felicity, but now he realizes like, oh, Felicity was Oliver's fiance. Did she know about him being the Green Arrow? Does she know? Could she be working with him, type of thing? It's like, because it's like the woman he's loved could be caught up in his need for revenge, whatever it may be. My money's still on that DA, because it's like, the fact is, last episode he used that exact wording that Oliver used when he was in that prison. It's just like, that's just too weird to me. Yes, it could just be like, hey, it's just like, coincidental, but it's like too coincidental. They did that on purpose. It was literally back-to-back scenes of them saying that. I was like, I caught that immediately. I was like, you said the exact same thing. It's like, okay, something's not right here. So still money on the DA, but hey, it'd be interesting if it was Billy too. So. But, ultimately Oliver's like, I want you to be happy. It's like, I care about you. I will always care about you. So if that ends up being, if he, I want you to figure out whether it's real between you or not, because part of me was wondering, I was like, was there a part of Felicity that didn't say anything because she was kind of hoping that, was there a part of her heart that was still kind of like, oh, maybe things between me and Oliver can work out? Maybe, maybe it's really a combination of, hey, she wants to move on, but there is that part of her heart that is kind of like, hey, that I still love Oliver, which, she cares about him just as much as he cares about her. Just, that it just works out like that. They always will, but I don't know. The heart's a very interesting thing. I'm just very curious to see where Felicity's heart will take her, and just where everything will go in that situation. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.